Meow. Alright. Yeah, I got that set up about right.
Does this count as a breaking weapon in a tournament?
No. What? No.
I'm just saying that's what they do in, like... Okay, to be fair, when have you seen in an open bracket somebody goes in there with a red?
I've seen it a couple of times. Not often. It's a pretty rare occurrence.
So, like, forgive me for asking that question.
That's
about something that
okay.
I never say.
But, like, no.
It should be.
Anyways, okay. Now we're gonna do zoning and we're gonna do Darkside, and then we can go open on whatever. I want to get the stuff that people actually ask for out of the way first.
Okay,
not to worry.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So your stupid question is on video.
They got me on record for the garbage take.
They got you on record for your garbage question. All right.
Look, man, it's not something that happens often.
Yeah.
Open bracket is basically Sword and Board Part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
It's Sword and Board and Downstairs.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So
I'm just saying, you'd see a shake up in the meta if you let shield crushing weapons be shield crushing.
Maybe. In order for me to get 3 racks with a great sword, that sword arm is just
I
kind
think the difference is that Bell has minimum force requirements in order for a hit to count as breaking, whereas in Amp you could just walk up and be like, "All right, lay on," and then like, or you're now armed.
Yeah. Okay, so Renegade asked us to do a little bit on zoning, so like distancing
Measure.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I've heard it break down so many different ways, like A, B, and C, red, white, or red, yellow, green,
Full half.
1, 2, and 3. Yeah.
Full half. Gunslinger, I want to say.
I have no idea. Yeah.
Those are the 3 I know.
There's a bunch of different like terminologies for it, but really I tend to just kind of go zone 1, 2, or 3, or A, B, C. And so for me, zone C is we're well outside of each other's range on a basic put the long away. So the zoning right now is mostly for short sword. We're looking at strike range for the most frequently used weapon in the game.
Okay.
Which is, for you it's verbals, but whatever. So
Fuck off.
push into my shoulder. So Matt has a little bit more of a zone on me than I have on him. Right? So that means that I'm going to need to close tighter on him to throw the same shots that he would have on me in range. So right now we are in zone 3, zone C, zone red, whatever you want to call it. And that means that I'm going to have to step in order to hit. C, I've got engagement on like limbs and extremities, right? And then for a tighter shot, I do still need to maybe put a half step in. And then zone A, zone green, zone 1, however you want to put it, is we're up in people's business. Usually this is when you're going to choke, you're going to throw that stab, or that deep wrap, however. And so that's, you're going to want to use, in my opinion, when you're closing the distance, and I forget about this all the time, or rather I fail to follow my own advice, is when I'm closing into another zone on someone, is keeping the close dynamic, so changing lanes. So instead of just going as if I'm on a 2x4 at my opponent.
Head used to explain it to me as like, don't fight like you're playing RuneScape.
Right, yeah, we're not playing Diablo, we're not playing RuneScape, we can actually move diagonally. So when you decide you want to move into someone, then you're going to be moving, you want to move dynamically, so you move in, and you want to kind of keep facing your opponent. If you step this way, and you don't rotate into your shot, or your scope, then you are literally just leaving your back and your side open. So if you want to get spanked, change lanes without orienting your body. But if you change lanes and orient, and keep your defense in, then he can throw towards that shoulder still, and I'm still okay, right? And the same thing for me, a lefty closing on their board side is a little bit trickier because it leaves my left side way more open, and so that's where throwing the high cross is stupid. Like it's a bad idea. Don't lane change. Well, not necessarily, but like it's an exposing shot. If I lane change to your left while throwing a high cross, it gives you everything, right? And so a lane change, depending on going into sword board, if you're left-handed, don't throw the high cross into a board side if you're lane changing to their left, so you're right, because you're just gonna screw yourself over. So a lane change to their right, I still don't want to throw that high cross. It might throw them off a little bit, and that's usually where I'll throw the feign. So I'll open with the high cross on a linear approach because I can still retract well enough, or if I don't like the shot, I can feign the high cross and disengage into it and go for a sword side hit. So I can also do lane change 12-6. And lane changing into sword hand as a lefty really kind of brings yourself into picking up that slot shot. If you throw it outside and then throw that inside, chances are you might be able to open up that gap well enough to throw that slot in. And that slot, if you're a lefty fighter, and Renegade, I know you are, so that's why I'm kind of going over this a little bit more, is as you're going through your lane change, you throw a shot at that arm, and it fucking connects, awesome, throw it again, and go for that double tap. If it doesn't, you're still going to bring your opponent's guard in or out a little bit more, and that's when you can go in for the hip, you go in for that slot, and try to wiggle it through. I mean, don't like sit there and like hold and try to actually wiggle it through. But you're going to be able to kind of manipulate their movement. And if you're being closed, sword side, you can disengage, but you also want to keep your orientation well. Don't fall for those novel tricks of walking into an outside shot really dramatically. That's where the turn block really comes into play. Because if he lane changes into my sword side, and I turn and he throws at this arm, my left arm, and I push block, then he just has to retract and throw the slot. But if I turn block, then it's going to give me a little bit better of an angle on blocking that shot, and it's still going to protect that slot area. So I was taught early on, when you're going into another person's zone, when you're going into from like zone 3, zone green, or zone red, zone whatever.
I like full measure, half measure, gunslinger, but
sure. However you want to say it. The reason I'm mentioning all of them is it doesn't matter. However you want to look at it. As you're getting closer into your opponent, you want to be able to assess, what shots do I have now? What shots do I have now? Things like that. And the same happens as you're closing as when you are disengaging. So when you're leaving a zone, maybe you want to snipe that leg, or however, just get something on the way out. Even if it's enough to keep someone from advancing towards you, you know, that clip of the leg, or even
throwing a shot is easy.
Throwing a shot on a disengage is better than just backing off, because you could have sniped something, you could have whatever, but on top of it all, you know, if you disengage, you know, close sword side or shield side for you, and then disengage again, and then they didn't orient quite right, maybe you snipe that elbow. Things like that. You know, it's all about footwork. You know, if we want to talk about basics of footwork, you put your heels together, and then you orient 190 degrees, and then put pressure on the heel, turn it again, and flat, right? And then turn one more time, and squat. Move the pressure onto the balls of your feet, and you're bringing your center of mass down, and towards your center of gravity is coming down. So if you crouch down on a sword, for me, my belly button is right at my pommel, right about where I should be, right? And so that gives me, like, last few videos I've been really flat-footed. I've been catching myself doing that.
Same. Never be flat-footed.
Try not to let yourself be flat-footed.
I'm bad at footwork, and I know.
Yeah.
Don't be flat-footed.
There's a couple of things. There's a difference between potential and kinetic energy and active energy and all that. And if you're flat-footed, it actually is going to take more time and energy to pick that foot up to be able to move it to whichever direction, sliding or otherwise. And the same goes for a hand block. I've seen a lot of, especially with cold weather, someone laying their hand flat. So if you have a ball-peen hammer and you put your hand down on a table and head it, you're probably going to break a finger. But if you pick your hand up and you drop that hammerhead into your hand, it's not going to crush anything because it doesn't have anything to crush against on the other side. The same goes for a hand block. Keep your fingers curled, not straight out. Don't rest it on your chest, but have it lifted up. Because A, it's going to take more energy to pick it up and move it. And if you do get cracked across the fingers right there, it's going to sting like a motherfucker.
Well,
I know that you were really tempted to just slap me in the chest really hard.
No,
I appreciate that.
I actually have impulse control, thanks. I guess the other one that I'd maybe like to sell is, like, if you're not going up against really, really high tier fighters, like, one of the things that Enoch and I guess Bison and I do is kind of this block where,
like, the squirrel palm.
Yeah, where it's a little bit further out and it's out there to get there. Problem with that is that if somebody's really good, they can snipe that hand.
Oh yeah, it's like, give me that.
But then you can also...
Sure, you can sit there and bait it all you want.
It's also kind of like gauging your opponent. You can get away with a little bit more of a, I guess it's an active block with certain fighters, but like if I'm fighting Vaughn or something, like it's, I pledge allegiance to the Vaughn.
Shut up. So, no, in general, in my opinion, you should always keep your guard close to your body, because if it's out and they snipe the limb, congrats, you just gave them one out of their 2 required points of taking you out of that fight. And so for me, I disagree with Matt completely on the grounds of like having it out squirrel palming or whatever, unless you plan on like, if I have a shot lined up and I'm ready to go, and they like throw a shot at me, and I just like sit there, and I'm like, that hip was mine from the beginning, and I'm willing to sacrifice that arm. That's completely different. But if I'm in a normal fight against anybody else or doing anything else, it's pretty close to the vest. And that's so that I can throw that hand block up towards the shoulder, or I can put it across and catch that shot coming in at the opposite, or dropping in and grabbing at the kidney or the hips. It's just keep it floating, don't rest it. Because resting it, you're wasting all that energy picking your hand back up, and it's gonna hurt like a motherfucker when you get cracked across the chest and your fingers are in the way. So, we can touch more on footwork later. I actually plan on doing a video on Sunday for Dusk Hollow.
Footwork's
and
hard.
So, footwork, everyone needs to work on footwork every day of their life when it comes down to sword fighting.
Irritating how hard it is.
And so it's like, I don't think I've ever heard anybody, even like, you know, old guard, new guard, sword knights, or otherwise say like, oh, my footwork is on point. I don't need to work on my footwork at all. Footwork is like...
I think at a certain point you're just kind of doing maintenance. But like,
well, I mean, like, you can have your technique down, but at the same time, there's always going to be, you know, you're working on something new, a new shot, or whatever, and just because you have your footwork down in a traditional sense...
By the way, sorry, go ahead.
No,
Okay.
you interrupted me.
I just realized that there's a wrist exercise that everybody can do from home. If you have a stick, you can do it.
Let's cover that later, since right now we're focusing on footwork.
Well, now I've already brought it up.
Oh.
It totally came to mind, and the longer you do this, the better. So I'm going to get low. Basically, you want to hold your sword like you normally will, and then just super slowly rotate it over. And that's like one of the better exercises you can do from home. I used to do this when I was getting started, and it helped a fair bit. in learning to throw shots because it builds one of the muscles that you use to throw shots, and it kind of gets this action into your muscle memory, and then you use that to like forward and drop. So that's a thing. And if you're not struggling with it and you have really good muscles, pick up a heavier sword.
Or a chunk of rebar.
Or a chunk of rebar,
I've seen
lead pipe.
people with steel pipes, yeah. So, yes, as Matt is going completely off what he and
Totally
I were
off topic.
talking about, keeping on topic, which was footwork and the dark side. I wanted to go over dark sides. So, I'm going to do a dark side without the board, because in a single stick scenario, you can still throw the dark side. Go ahead and ditch it. We'll do a single stick in this case. It's especially prevalent for left-handed single stick fighters, because as the square up happens, right, and you're kind of adjusting, you can throw that out at here. And this is leading into the dark side. So if you know you want to throw that kind of dark side hit, you just breeze past it and then pop in. And I'm going to do it kind of in slow motion. So out and turn.
This would be a great time to get some reduction value.
And so doing it with the shield is literally the same. So you can throw out, or you can just drop. But if you just drop, a lot of people see it coming. And what you're doing is, what I do is I put the back of my wrist into the top of my opposite wrist against the shield. So it looks something like this, right? But I'm holding my shield right here.
I also totally have I'm squaring up this thing.
So, like this, and I'm throwing, connecting the wrists, and that gives me this. And as I'm throwing the shot, I'm sliding past to put my thumb just on the other side of my shield. So you throw out, drop through, and you connect at the wrist, push your thumb to the edge of your shield, and drop the sword over. I've seen people do slashes, so they come out and over, so they put their thumb towards the bottom of their board. I've seen it where, you know, deep shots where you're kind of dropping the sword in and you're putting your thumb, I hope bright orange, you can see that. I'm putting my thumb on the outside of my shield right here as I'm dropping the shot in. And that's the difference between hip or arm and shoulder. And both require different footwork, because with the forward shot, it's really just a forward step. But for that drop in, you're going to want to just do a lane change. You're going to want to do a lane change towards that shot side.
Might have a bit of a janky camera angle right now.
So, I don't know if that's going to come out in post very well, but we'll get to it.
I'm going to try that on like a slightly different angle.
Sure. So, for a straight dark side, so out and over, my thumb is pointed out the bottom of my board, and I'm aiming for that hit right there. Or if I'm going for the drop, I'm going to do a lane change and drop the sword onto the shoulder. And for a lefty, you'll see me throw dark sides as a lefty. I think it's primarily because I just like the way dark sides feel. But
everybody likes the way dark sides.
Right, and so like
they're dark sides.
They're amazingly fun when you're fighting people that are using a different weapon configuration than you are when you're doing sword and sword. But if Matt were to square up right now, and I sat there and threw a dark side, and threw a dark side, and threw a dark side again, that last one is the only one that is plausible, because I can potentially throw it deep enough to come up under that shield. A drop dark side is not going to work. Like, ever. So I don't bother with it. I might throw for funsies, but more often than not, it's my disengaged shot, because I'm going to throw for an outside, or throw something for something to effect, and then you'll see me throw that on a disengage, where I'm kind of backing off, pop, 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 but you don't stab yourself in the shin like a moron. So we'll do a couple practice rounds, and I'll do a disengaged dark side. So you throw, pop, pop.
Now we're both just trying to throw dark sides at each other. All day, every day.
So, I hope you've learned a little bit about the dark sides. They're kind of fun, kind of janky.
And that right there is measure. It's like...
Yes, he had me lagged in posting, so I wasn't able to close on him. So he was trying to harass at a distance. But really all he did was annoy me. So, I don't know if we're going to continue doing sword and board. I know Matt wants to continue practicing with a short and a long. So, I mean...
We might do 2 shorts.
Yeah.
We agreed, like, we're going to do first person to win 5 changes their loadout.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to do first to 5s. And then the winner of that has to swap their weapon configuration. And they cannot go back to the weapon configurations they've already done. So you can open with sword and board. You can open with a great weapon, flow, a dagger, whatever.
And we'll see how that feels. Maybe up it to 10 if we...
We'll probably do... I don't know, I think we've got enough equipment to do 3 rounds of that.
Yeah.
So, do you want to open sword and board?
Yeah, let's open sword and board.
Alright,
Why not?
we're going to open sword and board.
We're going to pretend like we're in a tournament. Arm and hip.
Arm and hip? Is that like arm and hammer?
Yeah.
Fine.
We didn't do it. You had
Hands to pin. Cool. Yeah, I'm posting right leg or left leg.
That kind of got chest.
Really?
Yeah, real
You
light.
just want me to swap out sword and board.
No. I'm actually really trying.
You want to reset that?
Yeah,
light?
let's reset that.
All right.
You need that.
Yeah, well, I've been typing all day. My hands are sore.
Sign off.
All right, 1 second. I need to check something.
Hey. How's it going? Hope everybody's having a good time.
Right. I remember I was at what? 1, 2, 2? You were at 1?
I think you were at 3. I was at 1.
I think I was at 3 yet. Because remember we reset that one last fight.
We did Simo too.
So I think it was 2 and a Simo?
All right, if you think you're at 2, you're at 2.
Yeah, it's a 2 and a Simo.
Vote now on your phones.
Comment below.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
Shut up. Give me that.
Just trying to see if I can get your shield to hit your chin.
Chin, chin, chin. Four.
Yep.
Oh, what do I have to change to? Oh. Bucket. It's in the bucket bucket.
Where Luigi turn?
Oh, got me in the chest.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my back right now. What's up?
I don't know.
I think I'm at 4, you're at 1.
Yeah, I think so.
Good. Yes. Real light down there.
That's garbage.
I think that was 2. Yeah. Posting. Dead. You got it.
Where? Alright. What?
Really irritating when you take it. Did you lose that arm?
Yeah.
Okay, swapping.
Oh, you're a bitch.
You're a bitch.
Barely.
I hope it didn't blast you in the face with
No.
that.
No, it like, if I was over an inch, it would have been arm for that, like, plop right off the shoulder.
Give me a shot. It's not really the Kimi shot. The Kimi shot is way more elegant than that.
It is.
Look at my finger.
Posting. My cone!
I get you.
Yeah, you tapped me on the phone.
Okay.
Whew. That one made me flinch. Give it. Give it. What was that, 4 for me?
One side? Force out here is scorched. Did I get anything with that?
No. Oh, fuck. Great sword, I guess.
Okay.
You get to stab me several times with the down stick while I try to close tight with the blade. No.
Good. Just barely.
tap here and then you hit sword.
Oh!
You okay?
Yeah.
Ow!
Got you, though. Yeah.
Greatsword doesn't taste very good.
They're not my favorite thing to eat. I also hate getting hit in the mouth. I'm a wizard. It's my thing. I gotta talk fast. I talk a lot. Noticing? Oh, yeah. Good day, bye. Did I win? Did I get him, Couch? Oh, that looks rough. I'm real sorry.
What?
Your finger.
Oh, no, I have a splinter in my glove from when I was gardening.
Oh. I was being facetious too, seeing as I've been blasted in the face twice in the last 30 seconds.
Are you bragging or complaining?
Yes.
You good?
I think so. After blood with trivial brain damage. Posting. I hit my.
So the last half of that video got cut off pretty bad, and that's okay. Tracy was calling me to see what I wanted from Albertsons, and didn't know that if I'm recording on my phone, I get a phone call. Turns out it kills the video. So I'm going to be working on building a rig so that I can start recording with my DSLR. So hopefully our video quality goes up so you guys can see everything that we're doing. Notice a lot of our fights were going off screen. It's kind of a pain in the butt because sometimes we're getting really good whacks in and you're not seeing them. So yeah, I'm gonna be working on getting a wide angle lens, and I'll be working with Sir Jericho on getting some audio equipment so that we can actually hear each other at a distance. And then we'll be streaming audio into the videos and it'll be much better, I hope. We'll see. It's a learning progress. So yeah, if you guys like what we're doing so far, comment below or subscribe, whatever. I don't really care. But shoot me a comment or message me with what you guys want us to be working on next. I kind of want to do some basic stuffs of working out and getting shots in, footwork, just like from the ground up kind of stuffs, because you know, if someone's going to stumble upon the channel and like kind of figuring stuff out, maybe they need that kind of resources. They're like, what the hell are these guys doing? And that would be the case. So I think that's going to be on the criteria of stuff that Matt and I want to do. And so yeah, keep an eye out. Thanks everybody. Bye.